I have played every single Spider-Man game starting all the way from the 1980s to the day before this video releases.
Let the Spider-Manning commenceth.
So let's go back and see just how much Spider-Man's changed in 40 years. The first Spider-Man game is absolutely wild. You could tell me it was anything back then and I'd believe it, but apparently this is Spider-Man.
Is this more action than even Spider-Man can handle?
The mission's simple. Spider-Man's gotta scale the Empire State Building and stop Green Goblin. But, yeah. I guess games back then just didn't work that great. 7 years have passed since the technical achievement that was Spider-Man on the Atari 2600. But now Spider-Man is back with none other than Captain Frickin' America.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
And their goal is to stop Dr. Doom the only way that they know how. By scrolling left, and then right, and punching dudes. Real fun fact though, this game was declared as the 27th worst computer game ever released. You know, it's hard to believe Spider-Man games had such a tough start, but
Remember, with great power comes great...
Not yet. You know, growing up like most people, Spider-Man was the character we all attached to.
You want a trial separation already? I understand, but I'm hurt.
He's just a regular guy, and no matter what happened, he'd always come back stronger. And that's exactly why playing the games is so fascinating. You'd see, I'd argue that this game is the first good Spider-Man game, which shouldn't be surprising because it was developed by none other than Rare. And for those of you who don't know, Rare is that company that made all of your childhood classics like GoldenEye, Banjo-Kazooie, Viva Pinata, and
What do we have here?
well, I guess they've been a pirate company for the past 10 years. So they're doing that now. Look, here's the deal. Spider-Man's identity has been revealed, which gets Mary Jane kidnapped. So naturally, Spider-Man's gotta make his way through villains like Venom, Scorpion, and a bunch of other dudes to find his wife.
Where are they?
Sorry, it's the wrong comic book franchise. That's my beat. Yeah, sure, the game's another side-scroller, which may or may not be a theme for the foreseeable future, but it looks like Rare might have cracked some Spider-Man code to take into the next. Okay, so they got rid of Rare. Yeah, and you might be thinking, well, that's an odd choice, and you'd be right. And you can thank Marvel for that, because at the time, they're playing fast and loose with their library of characters and making a lot of suspect decisions that may or may not bite them and Spider-Man in the butt. More on that later. As for now, if you're a fan of side-scrollers, wives being kidnapped, or Kingpin planning on detonating a nuke on the city, then, wait, hold on. Is that really the plot of a kid's game? Let's just ignore that because look at this. The game looks phenomenal running on the Genesis. Yeah, sure, it's 1990, but Spidey's crawling, he's balling, and he's doing whatever this is. Also, it has cutscenes and I love them. Okay, it's time to make a sequel to Rare's Spider-Man game, and I know what you're thinking. Let's give Rare some money and watch the money pile in. Well, you'd be wrong. Not logically, but you'd be wrong in this instance. Because like I said earlier, Marvel's only getting more unhinged, and despite this being a literal sequel, they get a new team, and the new team goes, what if Carnage and the rest of Spider-Man's villains frame him for a bank robbery? That'd show him. There's nothing more villainous than working within the confines of the legal system to put Spider-Man behind bars. Well, don't fear, because in this game, Spider-Man not only scrolls his way left, but also right in order to clear his name. Now, for the time, this game may be impressive, but what was with every game during this time being literally impossible? Like, not 1982 Spider-Man impossible, but like give you a little bit of hope thinking you can do it, and then tear you down impossible. Wait, hold on. Is that Spider-Man or Spooderman? This is literally all I could think about as I saw Spider-Man flip-flopping around the place. But I will say, in comparison to the Genesis, isn't the difference crazy to see? I mean, look at this. And now this. What's worse is I looked online to see how to beat the game and saw that the entire thing can be beat in like 20 minutes. So yeah, I just feel bad. Is that what all of these games were like? Just like impossible difficulty, and then you look online, it's like, yeah, it could be beaten in like 10 minutes. It's really not a great feeling. Ladies and gentle geese, it's come to my attention that Marvel has a villain known as Arcade. I swear, I saw this game many times as a kid and like just assumed that the game would be hard, right? It's like the arcades, that you're playing in arcades, like the video game's revenge. That's what I thought. I thought that. I don't know if I'm crazy to think that, but I thought that. But no, he's a real villain, and this is what he looks like. He looks like something out of Meat Canyon, and it makes me incredibly uncomfortable.
I have a views now, you know, it's one of these things where it's mine now.
Also, the game is... You can play as some of the X-Men like Wolverine though, which I guess is cool. But it's another one of these scroll to the side with an insane amount of difficulty, so you rent the game like 1,000 times at Blockbuster. Music's pretty rad though. They made another one. Okay, now this is where my senses start tingling, where my jellies start jiggling, and where my vents start conditioning. Spider-Man and Venom Maximum Carnage is amazing. It might be in the top 5. Heck, it could be in the top 3 of Spider-Man games. It's that good. Yeah, it's punishingly difficult. But look, you get to play as Spider-Man and Venom. And it's awesome. It's an amazing brawler where you go back and forth punching dudes as you make your way to stop Carnage from doing something crazy, like start his theatrical debut.
There's gonna be carnage.
Jokes aside, the game not only slaps, but the music lives in my head rent-free. I mean, just listen to this. Like, the music dev did not have to go this hard. Editor, wake up, play another. Also, the cart is freaking red. I mean, look at this thing. Why did they stop doing this? I've had it for years and I will never let it go. But hold on, check this out. The story is actually adapted from the comic of the same name with a super unique comic paneling for the time. Like, this game is such a notable step up from the others. The graphics, the sound, the animation, the gameplay. You don't just punch. You ka-chacks. You ka-chacks, you guys. Ka-chacks. Also, I don't know what it is, but I feel like the symbiotes were just like crack to 90s kids back then. I mean, Buddy has an axe for a hand. The game's goose-tastic, and it can only get better from here. Japan made a Spider-Man game. They did it. They made a sequel to Maximum Carnage. Wait a sec. This game isn't goose-tastic, it stinks! This game stinks! I mean, look, the graphics are clearly a downgrade. The music's worse. The cart isn't red, and like, it might have one of the worst subtitles I've ever seen. I mean, separation anxiety? Separation anxiety is what we went with? It could have been anything. You could have named it Spider-Man and Venom 2, The Venomening, and it would have been 10,000 times better. But you went with separation anxiety. I mean, heck, why not just make the subtitle some complex math formula like Spider-Man? When the borderline is tau equals 0, the eigenvalues are
0.23 electron volts.
Anyways, if it wasn't for the cover art, I don't think anyone's buying this game, if I'm being completely honest. It's the same plot as Maximum Carnage, except this time you also have to beat up the rest of Venom's kids. And yes, that is indeed the plot. Yeah, that's right. Carnage was just a kid, and you had no problem beating him up, did you, you sicko? Including one kid that has long, flowing gold locks of hair for some reason. Not sure how an alien symbiote grows thick, flowy hair like that, but the 90s were a weird time, weren't they? But do you know what wasn't a weird time in the 90s? Cartoons. Dragon Ball Z. Digimon. Pokemon. This show.
Honey, I'm home.
And of course, Spider-Man the Animated Series. And real quick, can I just say that the voice of this Spider-Man
Hey, who do I look like? The Tick?
will always be my Spider-Man? Hashtag, that's my Spider-Man. Anyways, Marvel sees this show and says,
I like money.
well, no, but also yes. Look, I remember this game being frickin' amazing back then, but I'm gonna be honest, playing it again, it was pretty eye-opening. Spider-Man looks kind of
different.
Also, this level's sound effects might be the creepiest thing I've ever heard. I hate to say it, but the game's just okay. The most important thing to do now is to pressure Marvel to bring back the animated series. I mean, come on, Marvel. It inspired a whole theme park ride in Orlando to this day, and it ended on one of the biggest cliffhangers known to man. Do the right thing, Marvel. You're already bringing back X-Men. Might as well just add Spider-Man into the mix. Do it for Uncle Ben.
He always used to tell me, with great power comes great...
No? Not yet. First things first, this game runs on the 32X. And if you know what that is, then congratulations, you passed the ultimate nerd litmus test. But for the rest of you who have felt the firm yet sharp touch of crass, it's this thing. And yeah, you do have to plug it on top of the existing Sega Genesis.
Alright, babe.
I don't know what was in the water at that time with Sega, but it was clearly potent. As for the game, it's, well... yeah, this game's kind of insane. This game's wild.
Betray me, and you might be looking at this one day very soon.
No! Leave her alone. I swear,
I have never heard of this game before. And I cannot believe it exists. This game is literally incredible.
Spider-Man, I should have known you would show up.
That's friendly neighborhood Spider-Man to you, pal.
What is this voice acting, dude? Like, this is insane. This game is... It's perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, geese, it's finally the year 2000. A total of 2 people have installed Windows ME Edition, and Marvel, well, yeah, they've gone totally bankrupt, so that's happened.
Well, there's trouble in comic book world. Marvel Comics might not soon be there. The company is filing Chapter 13, and that's not good for fans.
Yeah, so now Marvel's got to license the ever-loving bejesus out of their franchises to stay afloat. And some might say they're still paying for that mistake 20 years later.
I will let you eat everybody. Promise. I promise. Oh, yeah.
Marvel licenses are being bought up left and right, but what about Spider-Man?
Spider-Man? Where? Where? Oh, I just get so flustered when I meet a celebrity.
Well, the video game license get picked up by none other than... Now, for those of you who don't know, Activision and its CEO, Bobby Kotick, are mostly known both past and present for one thing and one thing only: spamming a franchise into the ground with as many games as possible, like the dead horse that it is. But their first game is actually a huge step up from what we had before.
What do we have here?
It's not bad, right? In this entry, Spider-Man's been framed by a doppelganger and also has to stop Doc Ock and Carnage here from starting a symbiote invasion. The game has heart. It has fun gameplay. Actually, really good voice acting for the time.
Hey, Spider-Man, come over here.
And look, it even has Stan frickin' Lee.
Welcome, true believers and newcomers alike. Spider-Man co-creator Stan Lee here.
That was something I completely forgot about, and I gotta say, it was a nice surprise.
Who's Peter Parker, quickly?
Spider-Man.
Okay. Just want to see that you're awake.
But you know what else was a nice surprise? Yeah, these rascals knew what they were doing. But unfortunately, this is where Spider-Man games change forever. It's 1 year later and they've already made a sequel to the previous game, except this one's on the Game Boy Color. So yeah, Bobby's not goosing around. The game's pretty much this. There's no real surprises here, except there is a section where you beat the goose out of some teddy bears. And that music's pretty fun now, isn't it? Yes. In the same year, we get another sequel that's on a completely different platform and is a completely different game. This time, Electro is the big bad and Spidey's got to stop him from using some BioNexus device. You remember the 2000s where stopping some type of weird technology was plot? Now, for 2001, the game holds up remarkably well.
What is it which gives me joy?
It's actually so interesting to see how older games would eventually influence these newer games, including one that actually completely changed my life. But we'll touch on that later. Look, the game's just a nostalgic joy to return to.
You didn't need this green key, did you?
And it feels double good to hear Stan Lee again.
Costume or superhero prank? The Amazing Bagman.
I don't know, but when I stop and listen to this...
The Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, just feel wholesome. So Stan Lee's awesome.
Spider-Man would fly over, wouldn't he? How do you think I got here?
But you know what else is awesome? Kid mode.
Kid mode.
Yeah, they added a mode that basically makes the game impossible to lose. It's a wonderful mode we all used to actually beat the game back then, and then told absolutely no one that we used it.
This range should be weakening him. Boy, I wish he knew that.
Shh, it's our little secret. No, you read that right. It is indeed 2001 still. The developers haven't seen their families in years, and now we have a new and improved Spider-Man game for the Game Boy Advance. Whoa, it's horizontal now. Whoa! Now, let me just walk you through the logic here. The first game released on many consoles, the sequel released on the Game Boy, the real sequel released on the PlayStation, and this game actually releases 1 month prior to that game as its sequel on the Game Boy Advanced. So already, Bobby, I gotta say that the strategy is different.
He's too short, he dresses like a girl, he's different.
Maybe it's just me, but after playing something like this, or this, like, nothing about this is interesting to play. Let's just pray that the next Spider-Man game has some big change up its sleeve.
Change? Yeah. Big change.
We really don't get movie tie-in games anymore, but back then, they were all the rage.
Good morning, Angel.
Good morning, Charlie.
And there's a pretty good reason for that. It's because they were all horrible. They were bad. All of them. There's gonna be one person in the comments who's like, but I played the King Kong game and it was pretty good. It's still like moderately okay at best. Stop. Except this one's actually awesome, at least for the time, which caused everyone back then to react like this.
Nice.
I mean, let's be fair, it's not winning any awards or anything, but come on. Both Tobey Maguire and Willem Dafoe reprised their roles, under contract, for the game with iconic voice acting such as...
Help!
Quiet, girlie.
And who could forget?
You shouldn't be flying around at your age, Vulture. You'll hurt yourself.
Hashtag that's my Spider-Man. Also frickin' Bruce Campbell.
Human spider, that's it? That's the best you got?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
The legend and wrestling announcer from the movie returns as the narrator of the game's tutorial.
You are the little red dot, and your target is blue. So now's your chance to self-test for color blindness.
Like, that's awesome. Now, there's a lot of nostalgic feelings towards this game because Toby's my boy.
They love me.
And not only that, but the game included extra bits of story that the movie didn't.
Come on, freak. You need to learn a lesson, and Shocker's School of Hard Knocks is now open.
Also, fun fact, this game was developed by none other than the Call of Duty A-team themselves. Frickin' Treyarch. Isn't it crazy how those guys went to something as wholesome as this?
Tough day at the office, huh? Mine as a killer.
To this?
The numbers were telling me to.
But as fun as this game is/was, I think we all wanted to know what it would be like to play a Spider-Man game with the power of the sun in the palm of our hands.
Oh, Rosie, I love this boy.
Treyarch's back with a sequel to their movie game about the sequel of the movie. Yes, I think I made that overly complicated. They made Spider-Man 2.
This is my story.
Now, right off the bat, if you look carefully, you'll notice old Bobby Kotick must have been on vacation that year because Treyarch gets 2 years to develop this game, and ladies and gentlemen, geese, there's only one word that describes this game. It's Goose-tastic. Go ahead, try it. Say it once, feels nice. Just let it out. Goose-tastic, Goose-tastic, Goose-tastic. You see, at the time, the first game was fun, sure, but there were a few kinks. Yet this game literally, and I do mean literally, defines open world superhero games forever. To put things into perspective, GTA was just starting to blow up, so open world games like these weren't really common at the time. And especially as a movie tie-in game.
You will bear witness to the majesty and glory of my power.
So let's all take a moment of silence to applaud Treyarch for what they've done 20 years ago. Like, look, they just drop you in New York with Bruce Campbell back and sassier than ever.
You don't actually jump until you've let go of the jump button, okay? Now go jump in a lake.
Then you're free to do whatever Spider-Man thing you want. You could just web onto one of these helicopters and let it take you forever. Or solve this child's constant balloon losing problems. Sure, the gameplay is kind of the same, but Treyarch absolutely nailed the swinging. Good job, Treyarch.
This is how it all began. Which, of course, leads to nonsense like this.
Okay, now Treyarch is just flexing its polygonal muscles. With only 1 year later, they put out this new cel-shaded Spider-Man game that makes you feel like you're playing through a real-life comic book.
What on earth are you doing in Queens? What, I can't be in Queens?
The game's still cool today, but for the time, kids around the world were like,
Nice. Nice.
Also, the story is presented in this really amazing comic paneling with a bigger focus on Venom, which is really cool because it reminds me of the Maximum Carnage days with their comic paneling. I just think that's such a unique take on the Spider-Man games. Not only do you do the whole amazing open world thing again, but you play as Spider-Man and Venom. Look. Venom, what the f? For a megacorp pumping out Spider-Man games like Elon pumps out children, the Spider-Man game was such a breath of fresh air, and I gotta say, it'd be an excellent game to remake. Except for the races that you have to do in the game. They are like 1982 Spider-Man hard. And this race against Human Torch feels like what I imagine this feels like. I hate it. Finally, it's Spider-Man 3 time. Treyarch's back. The game's running on new consoles and
Please, someone! I'm going to die.
Okay, first off, let's just agree that the movie didn't have enough time to age like the fine wine that it is. Second off, during the same year, we were getting games like Orange Box, BioShock, Mass Effect,
We face extinction,
Call of Duty 4.
Come on!
And then there's...
I'm going to die.
It's not great. And what's worse is, after this, Treyarch changes their job description from spam as many Spider-Man games as humanly possible to spam as many Call of Duty games as humanly possible. And I'll never forget their final message to the Spider-Man community.
See you, chump.
Yeah, you read that right. It is still 2007 and they have put out not one, but 2 Spider-Man games.
Venom, my friend, you need to get yourself some breath.
Just 6 months after Spider-Man 3, Bobby drops one more completely different Spider-Man game. And for good reason, of course.
Money!
Yeah, so this game's kind of interesting in a weird way.
If this day gets any weirder, I may have to scream.
The cartoonish art style isn't great, but the twist this time is you can recruit foes to help you. So you might say that they're friend or foe. Ha ha. Ha. What's interesting is it apparently takes place in the Raimi universe by reusing characters from the films and adding twists from scenes of the movies.
Look like you could use a hand.
That seems more fascinating than the whole friend or foe thing, but to each his own.
Nick, Goblin says he wants to help.
It's a pretty simple game. You work out of a helicarrier going from place to place, beating up dudes with famous Spider-Man villains and rinse and repeat. It's not my favorite game by far, but I'll give him credit for trying something new and always being that game that everyone spots in the bargain bin in North America. I don't know how it was always the first one to be seen, but it really was, wasn't it? The opening of Web of Shadows might actually be more famous as a meme than the game itself. In this year's game, Spider-Man is more limber than ever. Dear God, that looks uncomfortable. He's back in another open world game, but this time there's a new choice system that affects the story. Stop me if you've heard this before. When Spider-Man do good, he get good team. When Spider-Man do bad, he get bad team. While the game is trying to do new things at this point, the Spider-Man shtick is... it's kind of getting old. And that's because Activision's need to make Spider-Man games is as strong as Sony's need to make a Sinister Six movie.
Start with him.
Like, we see what you're doing. We just wish you'd stop. The only way Activision could even fathom slowing down is if an insanely polished superhero game released out of nowhere and was hugely successful. But something like that, at least for the time, would be incredibly impossible. Oh. Batman Arkham Asylum comes out, and all of a sudden Spider-Man devs get enough time to not only see their kids again, but also make a pretty decent Spider-Man game.
Is that a cartoon pig?
Focus.
It has Batman's combat system, and in this game you play multiple Spider-Men, each with their own unique gameplay styles.
Time to grab
have a flop, big guy.
Oh, and they bring back Christopher Daniel Barnes.
Why do I get myself into these things?
AKA the best Spider-Man, AKA the voice of my childhood, AKA potential best friend.
That's just a great feeling.
So yeah, they already got my attention, but then they keep going. They bring in Neil Patrick Harris to voice the original.
I'm the Amazing Spider-Man of the 4 in the game.
Josh Keaton to voice Ultimate Spider-Man.
My name is Josh Keaton, and I play Ultimate Spider-Man.
And even the OG original Spider-Man voice actor, Dan Gilvezan, to voice Spider-Man 2099.
I'm the best, really.
They didn't have to do that, but they did it. That's an insanely nice touch. This game is so fun to return to, and fun fact, it's this game that starts a multiversal domino effect in creating one of the greatest movies of all time. I love it. The first one is the best though. Wow. The second one,
Don't do that.
is technically beautiful, artistically the best of the two, but the story, there's no story in the second one. Everyone quotes the first one. Second one, you got the canon event thing. That's all you quote because the first one is the best, okay? It's the best. Fight me. Oh, and also, the game's good.
I have become a being of pure energy. Without pants.
But like, it's not Batman good. Old Bobby must have caught a whiff off of that sweet cheddar pouring in from the last game, and instead of learning a valuable lesson on what story, time, and budget can get you, he orders another Spooderman sequel 1 year later. Edge of Time tells the story of Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2099, who is voiced by our boy Christopher Daniel Barnes,
And everyone else's future can go hang?
AKA the best Spider-Man, the voice of my childhood, and potential bestie, where they try to save the timeline, but it's not enough.
You know, you gotta learn to lighten up.
It feels rushed because, I mean, it probably is, and I'll be honest, even the way Peter moves. If someone was like in your house, you like wake up in the middle of the night and someone's like moving like that, you're calling the cops. This is also the same year that the sequel to Batman Arkham Asylum releases. And I think it becomes painfully clear that Activision and Spider-Man need to split. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, it's somehow good. I mean, for a Spider-Man game back then. And it gets bonus points because it was actually developed in Canada by Beanox.
The response so far has been overwhelming. I mean, I was never expecting so many people to be interested in our company.
So, shout out to the Canadian, whatever we are. The swinging is actually incredible, and they added cool details like Spidey's suit getting more worn as you take damage. But the rest of it is like, I mean, it's another one of these, right? It's just kind of shallow. It's interesting to revisit these games because at the time, I remember being really impressed. But now I just get bored in like 15 minutes, which is why I could not be more thrilled to play this next game. The movie's lame and the game's also lame. Review. It's just the same thing again, and I think we can say after 14 years of Activision Spider-Man games, like, we're a little tired by this point, especially if you've been playing every single Spider-Man game that's occurred in the last 40 years. If you're in that camp, you're probably more tired. Well, guess what, people I can't see but hope exist on the other side of this video? Marvel was tired too, because the Marvel that went a little and lost all of its money is no more.
We plan to use all of Disney's global distribution and marketing resources to extend and increase the popularity of the Marvel brand and its treasure trove of over 5,000 characters.
By this time, Marvel's been bought by Disney for billions of dollars. It's built up the entire MCU under super leader Kevin Feige.
Building to that moment that I got chills.
It's set up a 10-year cinematic journey that will lead to one of the greatest theater moments ever.
Assemble.
But it couldn't help but notice that none of their games were impressing anyone. I mean, think about it. You just watched the Avengers, you're hyped. You get home and you're like, which game should I play? And all that's there is Lego. That's it. Yeah, it became pretty clear to everyone that Marvel's characters deserve better. So the license was ripped from Bobby's cold yet calculated fingertips in search for a new home.
I'm ruined.
But here's the problem. Who do you get to handle a game about your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man? Marvel needed an A-team, a team that would dedicate themselves to creating amazing Spider-Man gameplay, but no one was doing anything close to that. In the same year Amazing Spider-Man 2 releases, Insomniac, who is most known for the Ratchet & Clank games, drops a sleeper hit. Now I know this isn't a Spider-Man game, but I promise you this game is so important to Spider-Man's history because it's this game that got Insomniac the confidence to nail the Spider-Man gameplay. I mean, look at this. The game's got style, it's got heart, and that movement system was and is absolutely incredible to this day. The controls are fluid, the motion felt natural, and you'd always feel fast yet incredibly accurate. Now while Sunset Overdrive didn't set the world on fire, it was all Marvel needed. Because for Insomniac's next game, they poured every single thing that they had until it was perfect. Marvel's Spider-Man is the ultimate Spider-Man game.
Yuri, I'm here.
But before I rave about the amazing gameplay, the spectacular story,
You are everything I wanted to be!
or the superior attention to detail,
You knew?
I want to share why this Spider-Man game is so special to me. See, every time I play a new game, I always do it beside my best bud. When this game dropped, something was different. Hey, you okay? Before I even knew what happened, my little guy slipped a disc. Within seconds, our lives completely changed. And if I'm being honest, I thought I lost him. I rushed him to the emergency room in tears, where I was given a single choice. Pay $10,000 for immediate surgery, or say goodbye. It's hard to express what something like this feels in the moment. Time slows down completely. Every second wasted hurt his chances at recovery, and I didn't have that type of money. Do it. We'd sell everything we had if we had to. See, there was a lot of long nights and hard physio to get my pup back up and running. But even on the worst days, there were two things that always kept our spirits up. Norm Macdonald's Netflix show.
Ran until he's gonna die, but he's what the f***?
And Spider-Man. You see, this is one of the greatest Spider-Man games, at least so far. The story is so much better than it has any right to be. The combat is fluid, and web swinging across New York makes you feel like you're somewhere else, like you're someone else. And I think That's the beauty of not only Spider-Man, but also video games. Of course, they're fun, they make you laugh, but most importantly, they each have the power to help others when they need it most.
She told me there was great power.
Not yet. Okay, so not only does Insomniac make another amazing Spider-Man game starring the now insanely popular Miles Morales.
Hey.
Yeah?
Your shoe's untied.
Yeah, I'm aware. It's a choice.
But the game might be cursed because once again, I can't say this was my favorite year of all time. You see, at this time, I seriously needed a game like this because, quite frankly, I was losing it. I mean, look, this is me a week before the game releases. I thought I looked good, but jokes aside, the game absolutely kachaks. It kachaks, guys. It kachaks. It's beautiful on the PS5, has another killer story that may or may not have made me tear up inside.
Let go.
Oh, and Miles has these awesome Venom powers with these sick animations that never seem to get old. Seriously, animation dev. Good job, but, and this is a huge but, while I love this game, and I love Miles Morales, I gotta say, I was severely let down due to the lack of Jordans. I mean, look at this.
I can tell you my problems. I can tell you my sins. I can tell you my problems.
And now look at this. Come on, Insomniac. Checks over stripes. Checks over stripes.
Are those my Jordans?
I can't help it if we're the same size.
40 years is what it's taken to get here. We've climbed buildings, sort of. We've had amazing music. We've had breakthrough gameplay and art styles.
What on earth are you doing in Queens? What, I can't be in Queens?
And we've even had corporate greed along the way.
What else can I help you with?
But now it's time to put all of that aside and play Marvel's Spider-Man 2. This video was never just about Spider-Man. It was about the amazing people who put every ounce of blood, sweat, and tears to build these experiences. So now's your chance. Let these people know just how important their hard work and these games have been to you. Whether they had all the time in the world or barely any at all. Whether they went insanely weird or kept it more of the same. Whether they helped us on the longest days or through sleepless nights. Each and every one of you gave it your all. Deep inside, I think we all know why.
You're the best of all.
Great power comes great responsibility.
If you could do good things for other people, you had a moral obligation to do those things.
And with great power,
Great power.
With great power, with great power.
there must also come great responsibility.
But what happens when an irresponsible CEO abuses the ever-loving bejesus out of their power?
I'm asking you to be okay not spending money that I don't have.
Well, watch this video right here to see how Bobby forced Call of Duty to live forever. Keep it cute.